Hi everyone, it's Rachel with Rachel Super Cute Creations, and I am here today inspired by Jennifer at the Maker's Beehive. And I'm going to make some vintage paper doll mixed media pieces. And these pieces, once they're flattened out, can be used on the front of your junk journals. They can be framed. Um, and we're going to kind of go with a Valentine's theme since we're getting close to Valentine's Day. So this is what we're going to work on today. And I hope everybody's having an amazing weekend. Um, I have not been on a month because unfortunately, for those who have been following me, my mother passed away. She lost her battle with supranuclear palsy. And so I had been caring for her. So the first thing you're going to want to do for this project, you're going to want to grab some scraps. You can see I have a gigantic mess of scraps over here. You're going to want to grab a base paper. And then I just went online and looked for free paper doll domain free images. So you need to be careful. You need to make sure, hi Nina, you need to make sure domain free, public domain, I'm sorry. And then you want to just cut out your paper doll. So I'm sorry, I don't have any cut out ahead of time, but you're just going to go ahead and cut around them. And some other things that you might want maybe some buttons, some stamps, any vintage ephemera that you might want, some lace. You can dig out, any of you have any of those scrapbooking scissors that make different designs. That is what I used on this one right here to kind of make it look like a vintage Valentine. That kind of lacy back. There's all kinds of things that you can do, and these are just so fun. All I did is, like I said, I went on to Google. On these ones, I actually added paint to the eyes to make their eyes stand out. And I also added some paint on top. You can use watercolor paint. You can use acrylic. You can use alcohol ink if you're careful. So mixed media allows you to do a lot of things. And so I'm just cutting out the base, my little dolly base. And once again, all I did is just go onto Google and I just typed in vintage paper doll. Free printable vintage paper dolls. And then I made sure that when I clicked on it, that it was going to be one that was royalty free and also public domain. You want to be careful because sometimes Pinterest, people will just clip images and they will put it on their page, their Pinterest page. And many of you think that that's okay to use. They're not royalty free. Okay, so on these paper dolls, you want to cut the tabs off. So I'm just cutting the paper doll tabs off. And I just printed them, excuse me, on regular, just 20-pound copy paper. There's not, I could do it on cardstock. There's really not any reason to do that. All right. So this is going to be the little dress on her. And of course, I'm probably going to add some, isn't that adorable? I'm going to add some little lace underneath it. And I might cut her hat out. We might put a hat on her. Not sure. Haven't done one with a hat yet. But we should just cut this one out just in case. And what I was thinking for this next one that I do is I'm thinking about making a couple of little journaling cards. So this is just a piece of copy paper. You can see it was a letter. And I put a little gesso on it to stiffen it up. But there's really no reason to do that. You could simply just put the copy paper on there. I'm going to fold it in half because we're going to make this Um, we're going to make this a little bit smaller. So basically this is an 8.5 by 11 paper that I folded in half and glued together. And you can see it's still a little bit damp in between. And then I just folded it in half again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our paper scraps. I'm going to set my little dolly up here so we don't lose her. I apologize. This is putting a glare. Here, we'll put this right here. Maybe that'll help. Sorry, my ring light is creating a glare on the screen. There. Okay. So we have our little doll. We have everything we need. We're going to now grab our papers. And what I like to do is use a variety of book pages, music pages. You can use scrapbook pages. We'll lay this over here. So I'm going to start with my pile right here. And she has some of this. Her dress is blue. So I do want to bring a little bit of blue in, but not a lot, just a little bit. And so this has some gold. And the thing about mixed media is you want to tear your pages. If you just put edge to edge, straight edge to straight edge, when you collage them, it does not create a very flowing a very seamless, I should say, edge. So I like to tear it just because it makes it a little bit easier. And I'm just grabbing some copy paper. I'm trying to get this glare off of here. Sorry about that, guys. All right, here we go. So I just tear the edges, and then I like to what I call dry fit whatever it is that I'm doing. And so this is kind of big. I don't quite need that much, but we'll have some blue and gold in the corner. We're definitely going to have some vintage dictionary. So we'll put that there. And this is all just scraps I've had left. I mean, I've been kind of playing around with these same book pages for a while. And so I'm just going to keep using these scraps up. So don't throw these away. One of the things I've been trying to do a lot is make sure that I use up the pages. Now, when you are looking at your dictionary page, you want to kind of make sure that it's appropriate. And so this is fine. Make sure you don't have any swear words or anything inappropriate on there. This is a piece of an old math book. So I'll just add this right here. And I just make a little collage. I just continue to go grab pretty much anything. This is a children's book that has, not sure what language. I'm just going to add this right up here. I'll just kind of tuck that in. And I just kind of dry fit everything to make sure that it's going to work. You do want to add some music page as well. Excuse me. This is from a French book. And I love it because whoever owned this book hand wrote in French too. So I like to use that. Okay. And I really think we need something maybe red or purple, or maybe a flower of some sort. So how about this? I think that would be kind of pretty. So this is just a scrap piece of cardstock. There we go. And so that kind of gives us an idea of what the backing is going to look like. And I can lay my paper doll over the top and kind of get an idea of what she's going to look like on there. And almost thinking I want this to go this way. Now, every single space does not have to be used up on your, if there's some white showing through, that's perfectly fine. And then typically what I do is I just kind of take my papers and I just slide them over there. And I always work right to left. That's just my preference. You can do it however you want. And so what I have in this little jar here is Aleene's Tacky Glue and water, and I mix it 2-to-1 ratio, and I'm using a plastic bristle brush, and I just go ahead and I put a pretty healthy amount on there to get started. And so I'm going to start with my thicker pages first, and I don't mind if I go off the edge of it because we can take that off later. And I'm just using an old gift card to burnish it down and make sure there's not any air bubbles as we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and put down the dictionary page right here. And you can use matte medium, you can use Mod Podge, you can use glue, whatever you're comfortable with. But I do recommend that you burnish it down each time just so you don't get any wrinkles. I'm going to add this piece right here because we're going to put the music across. The reason why I have a little piece of sponge in here is you can also, when you're doing collage work, you can also just dip the piece in it like that on top of the sponge. All right, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to just get this down. And I'm putting glue over the top. I'm not worrying about that because I do want to make sure that I'm sealing this so it becomes a new piece of paper. There's going to be different textures and different, and that's fine. Just make sure you seal over it. You do not need to saturate it a ton with glue. Then it becomes really wet and it takes a while before you can use it. But you do want to make sure that you burnish it down between each layer so you do not get wrinkles. And it also will allow you to squeegee out any of the excess glue that's underneath these pieces. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add this piece. So what's everybody up to tonight? I'm so glad to be back on. It was a rough month, but I'm glad to be back and doing a little bit of crafting, and this art therapy is going to allow me to heal from my loss, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to add this piece right here. You can see I'm not adding a ton of glue underneath it. I'm just adding enough to get it burnished down. Now I don't know if you can see this, but I want to show you. It's kind of thick on there. So what I do is I just take my gift card and see how much comes off of there, and I just will put that back in my glue. So I'm going to go ahead, and you want to do this carefully because you can rip your paper. So I'm just pulling that excess off. And we'll put our last bit of our blue paper on here. Let's see here. Which that will pop and really make her dress pop out. All right. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to squeegee out that excess glue. And this is what our new little collage piece looks like. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to the side and we're going to let that dry. But while we're letting that one dry, we're going to do one more. I wanted to get this other one done. Oh, let's see. Where did you put it? Where did you put it? You guys are all screaming at me where I put it, right? Okay, so we're going to do this one too, just because that way I'll have another one ready. I'm going to use some of this paper. This is calligraphy paper. And, you know, as you're doing this, because I want to use up these book page papers, notice I have not gotten out any more book pages. I've just used. Oh, I'm glad you're watching me. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes you just get too tired to play. But absolutely, I'm so glad you can watch. We'll have to get together and do a swap again, Nina. We haven't done one in a long time. So I'm just kind of playing with the papers I have, using up all these pieces. See, and here is some like blue, because this was from a children's book page. This will bring that blue in. So we'll add, where do we want to add that? Let's add that on this side. What do I have left here? I have some more of this. And once again, I'm just dry fitting these pages. We'll get this piece. One of the things I just love to do, I find collaging so relaxing. I know some people do not find it relaxing. I find it extremely relaxing. So I don't know about you guys, but how many of you find collaging relaxing? Let me know in the comments. And if you're watching this on replay, you know, please, you know, let us know what you think of this project, or let me know, I should say. All right, same thing. We're just going to put this down. And I'm just going to meld these and make these a new page. A new page. There we go. Once again, I'm going to take my, and see how this is lifting up right here? All I'm doing is just putting some glue underneath there and burnishing it out. This is great to use junk mail. So if you get junk mail in the mail and you're like, oh my gosh, what should I do with it? Collage with it. Grab it and just do some quick collaging. They make great tags. So you don't need a lot of supplies when you're doing something like this. And sometimes I change my design. Like this isn't exactly how I had it when I did my dry fit, but you know, it's fine. I like this. I like changing it up a little bit. We're going to add this little piece right here. And then we'll add our music on the bottom. And then we'll do our final burnishing. Ooh. All right. So we quickly, and you can see, oops, see, I pushed that a little bit too hard and messed up the fibers on my paper. So see, I don't know if you guys can see this, but you want to go very gentle. In some of your papers, if they're old, you get a lot of wet glue on there or a lot of gel medium, you might have some problems. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is while we're waiting for these to dry, what I do is I take a baby wipe and I wrap my brush so that the glue does not harden on my brush. And then we can get started. So this one is still pretty wet. I'm going to just take my dryer and I just have like an embossing gun. So I apologize for the noise, but I'm just going to get this some heat because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of really make this one. And I'm going to add just a little tiny bit of white paint. And we might add some other colors. Now make sure when you're drying, you dry the front and the back both. And do not hold it in one spot for a long time because it will bubble from the heat. And so I just keep moving it around, moving it around. Yeah, I would love to swap too, Nina. I've not done a swap in a long time. You know, as I said, I had been caring for my mom and just really got out of it. I'm going to have some my shop. For those of you that haven't had a chance to check out my shop, I do have an Etsy shop, and I will be adding a lot of new stuff to that. Okay, so it's dry now, and it's pretty flat. At this point, usually what I will do is I will come in and I will trim these edges. So I'm just taking off anything that's over my base. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your bases. Your bases can be old food packaging. Your bases can be cardstock. All I used is a piece of copy paper from my recycling bin and folded it in half and thickened it up a little bit. You can use just about anything for your base. Okay. And you can even, if you want to, make your own paper dolls. So these are some paper dolls that I made myself. And you could even add paper dolls, you know, that you made yourself rather than finding vintage ones if you'd rather have more of a whimsical paper doll. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is get some of this mess out of my way here. Give me just a second. All right. And I'm going to grab some acrylic paint. Now, if you do not have acrylic paint, don't worry about it. You can leave this just like this. But I like to take some acrylic paint and I like to just kind of go over it. If you have gesso, you can use gesso. Okay, so I'm noticing right here that this is popping up. So I am going to find on my messy desk, hopefully, a glue stick. I'm just going to glue stick that down. Okay. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just taking some basic acrylic paint and I'm just putting a tiny dot. You can see how little that is. It's about the size of a pea. I don't want a lot of, oh, I've got some glue on here. I do not want a lot of paint on there, but I do want to tone down my colors just a little bit so that my little girl is going to pop. So I'm just grabbing my card and I'm just dabbing it on there, and I'm just going to come on here and just add some white to the back here. And what that does is that kind of blends it in as a whole paper. You can see I did not put a lot on. Now, if I wanted to put one spot that was really white, like let's say right here, sometimes what I'll do is just take my finger and maybe I want that part to be just a little bit whiter, and I can do that. Now, I typically like to put it a little darker white or whatever color it is behind the little girl because you can see then she pops right up off of there. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so all I did is, you can see, we used just a small amount And then what I may want to do is add another color in to um, sort of really make this pop. So what I am going to grab is a little bit of this bright pink. And I'm not going to do a lot, but I do want just a little bit of this bright pink. And this bright pink has been watered down. So, and what I'm going to do is just add just a little bit, not a lot, but enough to just give it some extra color. What do you think? Look at how cute she's going to, oops, how cute she's going to be on there. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of dry this again. So I apologize for the noise. And you could stencil on here if you wanted to. That's really fun. You can ink it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of ink the back. You can see I did not do a lot. I just did a little tiny bit, enough to just bring some color in and give it some more dimension and texture. Look at that. You can still see all the gorgeous papers that we used. And on this one, since I still have some pink, I'm going to go ahead and dry this so that I can use some of that pink up here. And then we'll wipe and clean this away. You like that, Nina? Yeah, it's just fun. It just gives you just a little bit of fun, something a little bit different. Oops, I put it down on the wet paint. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to kind of wipe it on there and just give it a little bit of texture. So in this case, we put the pink down first. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab myself just a little tiny dot of white. So this time we made the pink sort of our color to blend everything together, and then we'll add the white over top. So I'll show you what the difference is, because you do get a little bit of a difference. So for those of you that want a really bright background, you can start with your darker color first. The other thing I usually love to do is add a little bit of teal or turquoise. But you can see I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just give this just another look. And so this one's going to be, you know, much more. And then if there's places I don't like, I'll take my, I can take my baby wipe and I can pull up some of that paint if I want to. So simple as that. We're going to let that one dry and we're going to go back and we're going to work on this beauty. All right. So the next thing I like to do is I kind of like to play with, where is the placement of things going to be? So I know I love this little girl. She is sweet as can be. I know she's going to be here, and I kind of want her to the side because this blue is up here and I kind of want her over here. I think like that. And I'm not sure if we're going to put the hat on her or not. So if you want to put the hat on these, what you need to do is you need to cut a little slit up here. So grab your craft knife. Actually, we're gonna cut it up a little bit because I want that to sit down on her head. So if I want her little hat to be on her, I'm gonna just gonna take a little sliver out, not much, right up by that black line. like fumble fingers. Sorry, guys. Okay. So if we want the little cute hat on her, and I think we might because I haven't done one with a hat. Isn't that kind of cute? All right. So there is our cute little girl. What are you thinking? I'm thinking I'm going to bring her right here. Bring her right kind of in the middle. And then we need to think about what do we want to put on her? You know, I'm going to look at some of my vintage stamps because I want to kind of keep with this blue, maybe teal theme. And so I have some vintage postage stamps from around the world. And I think these would be kind of cute to add in here. And I'm looking for ones that are kind of blue or teal or maybe even pink that might go. Here's kind of a blue. We could put, and I'm looking for different ones so that they're kind of, so we could do something like that. What do you think? I think that would be really cute, and we can age those up just a little bit. But wouldn't that be cute right like that? And then what I'm going to do is I am going to pull out this little stamp set I have, and it has all kinds of little postage and things like that. And so I think I'm going to maybe do some stamping over that. So we'll set this here. I think those blue stamps are going to be really cute. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to ink up my edges. And I'm going to use, let's see here. Here we go. I'm going to use some vintage photo. And I'm going to go right along the edges. And it's this vintage photo has a little bit of a green tint to it for those of you who have been using it. So depending on, like when I use blues or anything like that, I like to use vintage photo. If I'm using something that has a lot of reds or yellows in it, I will use the tea dye, just because the pigment is a little bit different. And then I'm going to just kind of take a little bit of that stark white off of these. Just kind of make them a little bit more vintage. And I do sell these really fun stamps in my shop. If you do not have a lot of foreign stamps, I do sell these in my shop. They're really fun. All right, and so I'm just gonna kind of give that a little. There, I kind of like that little cluster. So I'm going to grab my glue, and you can use a glue stick. You can use whatever you want here. And I'm just going to kind of go down on here. Now you do have to be careful because Tim Holtz ink is a water-based ink. So if you put your glue over that and it's wet, you're going to get some smearing and some so you do have to kind of be careful. And so I'm just kind of putting these kind of kitty wampus on here. And we now put this right over there. So we'll let that dry. We can now put our little girl on here. And before I do that, I just left a little bit right here that I'm not liking. So I'm just going to Okay. So I think we'll use the hat. I think the hat's kind of fun. So I'm going to just slide it on here. And I want it kind of sideways. You don't want to put it on perfect. I think that'll be cute. We'll kind of have her hat going. And then what I like to do is put the glue on the back of the paper doll rather than putting it all over the collage piece, because that way, oops, our collage piece stays fairly dry. All right, and then I'm going to carefully use my card to burnish her down and make sure she does not have any. And I have a little wrinkle here. So what I'm doing is taking my card to get up underneath her, and then I'm going to just layer her down. Isn't that cute? All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to decide, do we want her to have a little bit of lace underneath here on her skirt? And I have a little, oops, sorry for the noise. I have this little scrap piece. So let's kind of try it out and see what we think. Do we want to put a little piece sticking out? Sorry for my reach. I think it would be kind of cute. What do you think? To have that little bit of lace sticking out? I think we should do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this on an angle. And I'm going to cut this one on an angle so that it's more narrow on the top. So it'll slide right under her little dress. And I don't want it to quite I don't want it to cover her knees. So I have to kind of, well, and there I go. I cut it a little too short. Story of my life, right? Well, that's why we have extra lace. So we're just going to grab another piece. And I'm going to save those. I'm not going to throw those away because you can use those itty bitty lace pieces on lots of things. So we're going to try this again. And this time I'm going to pay closer attention. That's what happens when I start talking, you guys. All right, let's get this flat here. Okay. So I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac. You like the stamps? I'm glad. I like the stamps too. I think it's kind of cute. So I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac. And I am going to cut just a little bit of it off because I want it to kind of have a little bit of a flare there. And we'll put it down so that it's sticking out how we want it to. And I'm going to kind of round it with my dress. And we'll kind of there, that looks better. Look at how cute that is. Okay, so for this one, I will use Fabri-Tac just because I want to make sure, because we have this fabric on here, that it sticks down well. You could use a matte medium or whatever you'd like, but I want to make sure, and I'm not sticking down this part of the lace, so I'm leaving this so that it flows. But what I will do is I will go over this little dress and her little face with some of this glue just to seal it. But I'm going to be very careful, and I'm not going to get it on the lace. So you don't want to push really hard, especially if you're using a printer, because the ink, when it gets wet, will smear if you're not careful. So I'm just putting just a little bit over top just to seal her dress. And then we're going to go ahead, and what I'd like to do is I'll lift that lace up I'll go right under the lace and down her legs. And so we end up with something like that. So the next thing I want to do is we're going to let that dry, but I want to add just a little teeny bit of some teal. So I put just, you see that little teeny dot of paint, and I'm going to take that with my finger, and I just want to bring that color in a little bit up here and down here, just a little bit, just to add a little more mixed media look. Isn't that pretty? All right. Now, the next thing is we can leave this like it is, or we can make it more Valentine Day looking. So on this one, you can see I added some hearts, I added some things, but I think for this one, I think we should make a faux envelope. I think a little faux envelope with a heart on it would be cute. So we're going to let that one dry. And then what I like to do is I like to take a piece of paper, and I think this would be really cute. So we're going to cut about a 1-inch strip, because that is about the right size for this paper doll. So just want to make sure it's nice and straight. Yep, so this is 1 inch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, if I could get out my scoreboard, but I don't really want to. It's just one more thing I have to do. So I'm just going to use a ruler, and I'm going to use this as my scoreboard. And so I folded it up, not quite 1 inch. And then what I'm going to do, if I can get my fingers to work, is I'm going to fold this back down. And we're going to line this up just like this. I'm going to burnish this down. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this. But I need to make a little mini envelope. So I'm thinking here. Sorry, guys. I'm thinking. So I think what I want to do, and this is cardstock. Sorry for my bracelet. This is cardstock, so it's okay. So there's my little envelope. All right. And I am going to trim that just because it's going to be faux. Now you could leave that, but I am going to trim it just because I don't want that extra bulk. Isn't that cute? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to ink up this. Ink it up. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I have a heart punch, a little tiny one, I believe. Let me find it in my drawer of junk here. It's a big heart. We might use that one. That little heart punch. Yeah. So I have this little heart punch right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some red paper. And I'm going to punch a red heart out of some red paper. And I want it to be a little bit thick, so I'm going to go ahead and use my glue stick, and I'm going to, oh my goodness, you guys, my desk is such a mess right now. This is just copy weight cardstock. I might have to get a little bigger piece. I was going to try to use this little scrap up, but this might be more work than it's worth. All right, so here's our little heart, and that is going to be our little seal. Isn't that adorable? But before I do that, I am going to try to ink the edges just a little bit. And I'm going to grab some Fabri-Tac. And I'm only going to put it at the very bottom. I don't know if you guys can see this. The very bottom, because what I want is this to be able to open. Maybe. Maybe. So this will open up, and you could put a cute little note on the inside of this if you wanted to. So now I can put this right here in her hand, so she's holding this adorable little piece. And then if you wanted, you could have a cute little note that could open up. I think that's absolutely adorable. So I'm going to put this piece right here. I'm going to grab some Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to glue down just this back part right here. And I'm doing this because I want it to be nice and sturdy. Isn't that cute? All right. And then what I was thinking is I think we might need some little hearts or something up here. So I am going to look in my little bag of tricks here, and I think we just need a little bit more red. And then this still does not have to be Valentine-ish, but it could be. This would totally fit in a Valentine's journal, or it doesn't have to. You know, it could do either way. Let's see what we have here. All right, and this heart punch is a little bit bigger. So we could add this little heart up here. I like to do things in threes. So, you know, we could do something like this where we put 3 hearts up here. There's a variety of things we can do, but aren't these so stinking adorable? I think they're cute. I think someone would love to receive one of these. You could put it on the front of an envelope. You could do all kinds of things with these. All right, so we're going to make these a little bit distressed. You could add glitter. You could do all kinds of things. And what I'm going to do on these hearts is I'm going to add some glossy accents so that they'll have a little bit of dimension, but not a lot. But I just think this is so adorable, and it's so easy. This is something you could do with just about anybody. Kids, grandkids. What do you think? Do you like the hearts down there? Or should we put them up here? I don't know which way I like them. The other thing you could do is we could add some little smaller ones too. We could have multiple little hearts coming down. I just think it's so fun, so easy, just a fun little project to be creative with, using up your scraps. We could mix and match the sizes of hearts. I kind of like that with the different sizes. So let me ink these up. We'll get them down, and then we'll go ahead and be pretty much done with this project. I think it's just going to need a little stamp, and this little beauty is going to be done. And then I'll show you some things you can do with these. You know, what you're thinking to yourselves, you know, what am I going to do with this? Well, you could certainly frame this adorable thing. You could, there's a lot you can do. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to use a regular old glue stick. It's a regular old glue stick, and we're going to get these hearts down, and we're just going to kind of put them a little every which way, just because it's fun. I mean, you could put as many as you want. I work in 3s, but you don't have to. You know, you could do whatever you wanted. Okay, so done with that. Let me put my little lid back on. Now I'm going to take some glossy accents, and I'm just going to go over the hearts. And what it will do is it's going to, one, make them a little bit shiny, and two, it's going to make them sort of a dimensional. Now, you don't need to use a lot of glossy accents. You need to use just a little bit, and be very careful as you're putting it on, because what will happen is you will get air bubbles in it. So you don't want to shake glossy accents. Just put a very clear, a very small coat. You can always put another coat on later, but work slowly with it and do not shake glossy accents, or you will have air bubbles in it. So see how that just brings a little bit of shine and sparkle? When that dries, it will have a 3D effect to it. It kind of like makes it pop off the page. We're going to go ahead and we'll get this last one. And then I will put some on here too, just because I think that will be really cute. And I apologize that it's glaring. Let me hold it up. Isn't that pretty? All right. And so I do want to come up here and I want to do a stamp. So I'm going to grab one of these. And I think this says airmail. Okay, I think we'll use that one. I'm going to use some StazOn ink. And I'm not going to put this on an ink block. I'm just going to use it as is. Hi, Tammy. How are you? Okay. Oops. I have a little piece of glue on there. Pull that off. Just doing some mixed media work in here. Oh, I'm sorry. She wanted it on the bottom. Sorry, Nina. I put it on the top. We'll put a stamp on the bottom too. So I'm just holding it down. So we've got the little stamp here, and then what I'm gonna do is I think we'll put some of these down here. What do you guys think? Oops, sorry. What do you think? Is she cute or what? I do want to brighten her eyes a little bit, so I am going to grab a little tiny bit of paint, um, just like I did here, because I like their eyes to be a little bit brighter. But this is not necessary. It's not something you would have to do. Tammy, I'm doing okay. Haven't been on a while because my mom passed away. So I was caring for her and then just trying to deal with the loss of her. So today is my first day. I've been on in a while. All right, so I'm just, and yes, I licked the end of my paintbrush. That's just, I was licking the end of my paintbrush to get it in a nice point. Yeah, thank you so much, Tammy. This is the first day I've been on live, and I've decided, I'm going to use art as therapy. And so I'm just excited to be back, and it's just going to be that brush it's not cooperating. We're going to try a different one. All right, so I'm just getting this into a nice point, and I'm grabbing just a tiny bit of paint, and we're going to come in. We're just going to brighten her eyes a little bit. This, like I said, this is not necessary. This is just something I like to do because I like their eyes to really stick out. So I'm just taking some blue paint and I'm brightening her eyes. And I don't know if you guys can see the difference, but isn't that cute? I think it just makes her eyes a little more dramatic. She definitely would want that. She'd love to watch me on my Facebook channel, and she'd love to watch me create. So my mom was not an artist, but she was an amazing, amazing cook and chef. And so her art was in the kitchen, and my art was definitely not in the kitchen, but she definitely would have wanted to watch me. And so and then I'm taking my little white pen, and I'm also adding some white just to brighten her eyes up. I just think it makes such a big difference. And then what I like to do is I like to take a black Sharpie and make sure your Sharpie is working before you put it on there. And then I just kind of come in. Oh, and there's my Sharpie's not working. Sometimes what I do if my Sharpie's not working is I will take it and put it on my black ink pad, because sometimes I write with my Sharpie when it's wet or has glue or whatever. So if you just dab it on your ink pad, and so what I'm doing is I'm outlining her eyes, and then I'm outlining her eyelashes. And this, like I said, is not something you have to do. I just like to do it because I like their little eyes to stick out more, and I think it makes a big difference. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll just very lightly go over. Now, if this is a brown-haired or blonde-haired little girl, what I will do is I'll use um, colored pencils, and then I'm just making some lines with my Sharpie marker. And once again, not something you have to do. I don't know if you can, I don't think you can see it very well, but it just gives her a little bit of And then I'll come in and I'll just use my little, and then I usually will come in on the collars of the vintage dolls and I'll add a little bit of my white gel pen. Oops, and I touched my darn heart. Should have done this part first. Okay, I'm licking my finger, I know, but if you use a wet finger, if you have accidentally touched that and very lightly go over it, usually you can fix it. The other thing I like to do sometimes is so here's a blue pencil. And so I can take my little, this is just a Crayola, and I'll just come in and just kind of darken my lines a little bit, not much. And that will just give it a little bit of a pop. I don't know if you guys can see that darkening up just a little bit. I don't do it a lot, but just enough to just pop her dress out just a little bit more. Okay. I think her lips need a little bit of red. So I'm going to add, I want her lips to stand out a little bit more. Once again, not something you have to do. If you have a marker or you have something and you want to do this, you absolutely can. I'm going to flip this upside down so I don't accidentally touch those hearts again. And I'm just using just a tiny, tiny bit, you guys. And I'm just going to touch her lip. And I'm going to touch her lip up here. Just to darken that up just a little bit. Darken her little lipstick up. See how cute that is? And we're done. And we have this adorable little flip down that you can put a little message in, or you can leave it. It's just a little faux. All right, I'm going to wipe that up before I end up with it on my sleeve. Okay, so what can you do with these? Well, you can do a lot with them. You can take them and put them on your journal so they could become a journal cover. This would be really cute if you took a book page or like a piece of music. Whoops. And I could totally rip this. And I could put this on the front of a journal, just like that. Wouldn't that be cute? I could take this and I can put this on a card. So if I had a card base, let's pretend I could take an old card, I could cover it, and I could use this and I could send this. Wouldn't this be a cute little card to send to somebody who likes, just could slide this in to a pocket. You could make this a pocket, so you could just as simply, glue it on two sides and it could be a pocket. I just think these are fun. You could make this into a postcard, put a postcard on the back, put a stamp on it, mail this in the mail. If you did that, I would not do this piece as a 3D. But I think these are so fun. I think there's something that you should give a try to. Like I said, they're just really, really fun. I've been doing quite a bit of mixed media. I have these mixed media kits that are going to be going up for sale soon. And they come with gorgeous, gorgeous hand-painted papers in packs. In fact, I'll show you one of the kits. I'm just getting started and getting these kits done. But I thought these would be so fun to do some mixed media pieces, and we could do some little challenges and just have a great time. You can add tags. These are tickets that I cut and made cute little scallops on. You could do all kinds of things. So I hope you like this. I hope this was fun. I hope everybody has a great day, an amazing week. And I am also going to be doing a live sale soon. So please, if you have not, hit that subscribe button below, and subscribe to my channel so that you can get all of the updates when I go live. Also, if you love live sales, I have a ton of stuff that I'm going to be getting rid of, and I have a lot of new stuff that's going to be going in my shop. For those of you that want to give mixed media a try, I will have some mixed media kits that are going to be extremely reasonable, and we're going to be able to do these tiles. These tiles are so fun because if you are a junk journaler, you can put these wood tiles, they're lightweight. You can add them to the fronts of your journals, and they are so gorgeous. So I hope you like this mixed media. I hope you had a great evening. Please enjoy your week, and I look forward to seeing everybody soon. Bye, everybody.